On Friday morning, Doomy packed his bags and left for the Eastern Highlands. He kissed my cheek as though it was obligatory, and off he went without once looking back. I'd taken the weekend off and left Sarah to run the salon. Though I knew what I had to do, I dreaded finding something that would confirm my suspicions. Feeling this way seemed like a sign of my own weakness, a sign of how quickly I was ready not to trust the man who had loved me and given me everything I had until now. I could not even begin to contemplate what I would do if I found something out. My life and my daughter's future were tied to the magnanimity of the Nkube family. There could be no guarantee that their kindness would outlast my relationship with their son. These thoughts made me feel like a gold digger. I'd loved Dumi even when I had thought he was as ordinary as myself, but looking back, it became blurry as to whether it would have gone this far if I had not found out about his privileged background. Sure, it has kind of added to the fairy tale, but I wasn't certain that I wanted to go down this route. What was I thinking? My parents now knew about him, of course, and this further complicated matters. They only they had only just come back into my life, and I didn't want any scandal that might complicate my relationship with them. The postman rode past our house on his red bicycle. Apart from the sound of his tires on the road, I felt an ominous stillness. I'd been raised in a house full of people with very little privacy, so it was something that I valued. I knew Doomy had a right to his as well, but wasn't that overridden by my right to know the truth? AIDS was another consideration, so if he was cheating then I had a right to protect myself. I knew I was being illogical, even self-righteous. How could he be cheating when he'd refused to sleep with me because he warned us to wait until we were married? I had been charmed at the time, but now I felt myself asking what type of man, even a Catholic man, was it who would refuse the prospect of sex offered to him on a silver platter? There was, after all, a chance he was looking after himself, since Philip was a well-known philanderer. Perhaps Doomy feared that I carried the dreaded virus in my blood. The more I thought, the more I found myself confused and perplexed. Yet Doomy had lied to me about where he was the other night. If he'd had nothing to hide, he surely would have told me the truth. I had a duty not only to myself, but to my daughter, who now saw him as a father figure. It was still early, but I went to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of red wine and drank it in one go. Then I picked up the whole bottle and took it with me to the lounge, where I began to drink it straight. The wine tasted like straw, and I forced it down. It went to work immediately. I had drunk it on an empty stomach, and the alcohol raced into my bloodstream and went straight to my head. "Madea, I want you to go to town," I said, and as soon as she appeared. "Sure, what would you like me to go and get?" "It's none of your business. I want you to get out of this house and go to town." I was slurring, but I could not control it. The poor girl gave me a wide-eyed look and went slowly to the door. She must have thought it was some kind of obedience test. "Are you okay, Mama?" she asked timidly, her hand on the handle as though ready to flee. "I'm not your mother, stupid. Get out of my house." She went out slowly and shut the door behind her. The poor wretch was completely in my power. I fed her, clothed her, and sheltered her. Her entire existence was dependent on my slightest whim. Such is the life of a house girl, living in perpetual awe of the mistress of the house. I called her back and threw some money at her, telling her to buy herself a new dress. She clapped her hands and left looking very confused. When I got up from my seat, I felt as if the world was turning at an incredible speed. The floor under me did a sort of dance that made me fall back into my chair. I got up and began to navigate my way across the treacherous ground, reaching out to hold the walls for added support. Took a few steps into the corridor and dropped to the ground with a thud. It was as though I was learning to walk again. It took supreme determination for me to rise once more and walk. Each single step I took felt as though I had covered 1,000 miles. Dewey's bedroom was right at the end of the corridor, past the Jesus poster with eyes that followed you wherever you went. I reached his door and opened it. His bed was neatly made. The toiletries on his chest of drawers were arranged in two straight lines. Even the dirty laundry was folded and placed in the corner. Dewey did his own washing and would not let Mate do it. I glanced around the room and saw nothing amiss. Part of the problem was that I did not know exactly what I was looking for. I checked under the bed, under his pillows, nothing there. There's so many clothes in his wardrobe. I went through each shelf and every pocket of his trousers and found nothing there as well. Something told me I would be rewarded if I kept up my frantic search. I leaned on the windowsill and thought. Then I staggered back to his bed and raised his mattress. Underneath was a small black journal with Dumisani and Kube written in silver lettering on the sleeve. I knew I had found what I was looking for. I must have passed out, because when I came to, I was lying face down on the bed, a tiny pool of red vomit beside me. I got up slowly and wiped my mouth on the sheet. My head was thumping, and the clock on the wall said it was 1 o'clock. I could hear Chiu and Iso playing somewhere in the garden. In my left hand, I held the black diary. I surveyed the room. There were clothes all over the floor, bottles of lotion spilt on the carpet. The whole place had been ransacked. I bundled up the soiled sheets and threw them into a heap on the side, and then sat down on the bare mattress. I opened the first page of the diary and closed it again. There was still a chance for me to do the right thing. Put it back in its place. It's not for you to know the secrets of another has it's not for you to know the secrets another has not chosen to reveal to you, one voice said. Another told me it was my house and I had every right to know whatever happened inside it. No matter how much I rationalized things, I still knew that what I was doing was wrong. I set off to work cleaning the room. I folded his clothes and placed them back in the wardrobe. The jackets and shirts that needed hanging I hung next to them. Jimmy was observant and a perfectionist. He could not fail to notice that an intruder had been in his room and changed everything. Could not tell what I had gone wrong, but it all felt so different. The last thing I picked up was his green passport. I flicked through it and saw stamps for Namibia, Mozambique, New Zealand, Botswana, Kenya, and several for South Africa. All this travel had taken place in the last 4 years. The last was his visa to the UK, which I stroked. I wished he'd asked me to go with him. I thought of my own new passport, so bare and unloved. There was a good reason for holding on to my man, no matter what it took. I was doing this for us, I kept telling myself. I met my dad in the corridor as I stepped out of the room. She averted her gaze, disapproving but powerless to question what she knew I had done. Must swear I say, her voice was wary, disapproving. There are some sheets on Doomy's bedroom floor. I want you to pick them up together with his laundry and wash everything. I heard the hostility in my voice. It was as if I was blaming her for everything I had done, for my drunkenness, my shame, her disapproval, everything. I walked past her into the safety of my own bedroom. When I shut the door, I must have shut out what remained of my conscience. I opened the diary to claim my prize of the truth. Even now, I wish I never had. The contents were worse than anything I could have ever imagined.